Office of Student Conduct, and this session is academic integrity. But before I even get started, I just want to thank you for actually participating in the last concurrent session. I didn't think actually anyone would show up, but I'll take 10 people. So thank you so much for actually investing in your future as both students, but also as people. It's a true reflection of your commitment, not to your studies, but also your commitment to yourself. So thanks for being here. But basically, this presentation is going to talk about academic integrity, the different types of academic dishonesty that my office sees, investigating proper resources when you're writing papers and doing data research, some tools that you folks can use, and then also what are some of the consequences if you folks engage in academic dishonesty. I usually have folks pair up, talk about it, but I think y'all look like an exciting group, so just engage with me, entertain you just for a little bit. So if you folks want to just shout out, that would be great. What are some examples of academic dishonesty? Yeah. Plagiarism, perfect. Yeah.
I guess kind of feeding off what she said, cheating in a way.
Yeah, cheating, definitely. One more. One more brave soul. Usually I can sit in silence, but today I cannot. I'll just go ahead and give you the answer. So generally with academic dishonesty, there are 5 main categories. So cheating, fabrication, plagiarism, facilitating, and improper materials. So the next few slides, I'm actually going to go more in detail about these 5 different categories and what it states in the Student Conduct Code policy. So what is cheating? I think we all know what cheating is, so hopefully this entire presentation is just a refresher for you. But basically cheating is the act of academic dishonesty that includes the use of any unauthorized assistance in taking quizzes, tests, or examinations. So this can occur both online and also in person. How many folks have heard of facilitating? Okay, good. Yeah, so facilitating is allowing another person to use their work, view their work, or otherwise take academic work for the purpose of finishing their own. So both of these are considered violations of the Student Conduct Code. So with facilitating, you're allowing another student to look at your exam during a test. Both of you will be held accountable for such behavior. There's also this this concept of contract cheating. So basically you buying a paper online and then submitting it for an assignment for class. This is a violation and an example of academic dishonesty. You can't buy something and then turn it in as your work because it's not an original piece of work for yourself. While it can't be detected on turnitin.com, we just ask you folks to be truthful and submitting work that is of your own. You can literally Google search college thesis paper buy, and all these different resources for you to cheat can pretty much, you can click it and then buy something. Please don't do that. I think you folks are in college for a reason, so just make sure that you are writing things that are of your own. Another example of facilitation. So say your friend took Music 107 last fall, and you're taking it during this fall, so you ask them about the materials that they use for the course, and then your friend gave you all of the homework that they did, their quizzes, papers, and answers to complete for your quiz. This is another form of academic dishonesty, so please do not do that. Fabrication, so the falsification of documentation, whether that's through a document or through data research. I won't go too much into it, but I also see fabrication in terms of students, what is it called, when they fake a doctor's note in order to get an excused absence. It's pretty obvious when a document is doctored or fake, so please don't do that as well. Fabrication, so if you folks are doing data collection, you can't just data collect online and then use it for your own work. Another example of this is that you conducted a study and then you aren't finding significant findings based on the things that you did. So you just a few data points to create a significance. Please don't do that, because then you're altering data and submitting it for your work, and then now you're producing work that's inauthentic. You just need to present the information that you have, because that's findings in and of itself. So plagiarism, you folks should already know what this is, but plagiarism is also the act of by paraphrasing or using a direct quote and not citing it properly. I see a lot with students who are doing self-plagiarism. How many of you folks know what that is? Can you raise your hand? Okay, so self-plagiarism includes using academic work you submitted for one class as a deliverable for another without prior permission. So some faculty members actually allow you to submit work that you've previously done for another course, but they have also said that that's okay. You need to make sure that the work that you're submitting for one class is for that specific class. You also want to be cognizant of the questions that your professors are asking you to answer to make sure you're actually completing the necessary work. Okay, so some examples of plagiarism. So for instance, this quote, so say you wrote, Frances Elizabeth Willard was the first woman college president of Evanston College in 1871. Is this plagiarism? Why or why not? I'll just go ahead and give you the answer. It is plagiarism because there is no citation at the end of who actually wrote that. So for this one, Frances Elizabeth Willard was the first woman college president of Evanston College in 1871, Kent, 1924. Would this be considered plagiarism? I see head shaking. No, it is not. But it's interesting of why this person chose to do quotations. So just make sure that when you are citing things properly, that you're also not doing improper grammar and using things that you don't need to in a sentence. Here's another example. So this one would be considered a plagiarism because there is no in-text citation, even though it's rephrased. And then lastly with this one, it's showing how it's not plagiarized because it's in full sentence, it's paraphrased, and there's a citation at the end. Just go ahead and skip that one. Okay. Improper materials, so cheating is also the use of sources beyond those authorized by the instructor in writing papers, preparing reports, and solving problems. It's also the acquisition without permission of tests or other academic material belonging to a member of the UH faculty, staff, or student body. And then lastly, engaging in any behavior specifically prohibited by a faculty member in the course syllabus in class discussion. So make sure that you're using all the materials that are approved by your faculty when you're completing assignments and quizzes. For example, if you're in the sciences or math, if you use Chegg as a math solver, utilizing this resource, you're actually engaging in academic dishonesty because you're not solving the problem yourself. You're utilizing someone else who's actually doing the work for you. Chegg also has expert Q&A where you can enter a question into the text and then someone else will complete it for you. This is also another example of academic dishonesty. Another example, using Course Hero. I won't go too much into that. But basically, we want you folks, when you are writing your papers, you're completing your assignments, make sure you're using reputable resources. So one, investigate the author and who is actually providing that article or journal. Verify that there's educational credits. Are they published in a scholarly journal? Have they published in a book? Are they employed by a research institution? Also look at the URL, because if it's .gov, then you know that the data sets are accurate and they're not just made up. And then online journals and magazines. For each article, there should be an extensive bibliography of scholarly non-internet sources. So make sure you're utilizing journals with empirical research when you're writing your papers. Some tools that we have on campus, we do have the UH Monroe Writing Center, which is a great resource for you folks to use. They can review your papers and give you tips in terms of your grammar, your content, and they can also help check your citations to make sure that you're accurately citing people. We have the UH Monroe Library has various workshops for you folks to use. There's also the plagiarism checker, and also Chegg has a plagiarism check too. So if you're utilizing resources, make sure you're citing things properly, and there's also tools that you can use to make sure that you're checking yourself. When I was writing my thesis and my dissertation, I actually used Purdue Owl quite often. I actually use it when I had to do in-text citations, and then also at the end with the bibliography, because it can get confusing depending on which APA formatting, or if it's MLA or Chicago, it gets really confusing. So Purdue Owl is really good at making sure you're up to date on the edition and making sure you're citing things properly. BibMe is good, another resource for your bibliography or your resources. Okay, so consequences of academic dishonesty. So we do have the student conduct code, and it exists on campus. So if you are alleged to have engaged in academic dishonesty, then it will be reported to my office. But it'll include faculty involvement, my involvement, and then it could lead up anything to suspension. So we take academic dishonesty very seriously. So please make sure you're checking yourself and you're writing things properly. So just a tip, make sure you read your course syllabus. Professors will outline their tolerance of academic dishonesty. So if you were caught cheating or plagiarizing or cheating on an exam, some professors will fail you, and you'll get an F for the course and will have to redo it in the future. And it also will negatively impact your GPA. So think of all of the outward consequences that could happen. Okay, so to review, y'all can just yell out A, B, or C. So how can you easily avoid unintentional plagiarism? A, paraphrasing. B, rewording a sentence. Or C, citing your sources.
C.
C. Oh my God, y'all woke up. Okay, cool. Yes, C. Oh shoot, I messed up. It's all good. Which of the following does not need to be cited? Paraphrase information, direct quotes, common knowledge, or secondary sources?
C.
C, common knowledge. Yeah, very good. I didn't review that, but I feel like folks kind of know what common knowledge is, and if you don't, we can have a conversation about that after. Plagiarism is the intentional use of another's ideas, words, or work as your own. A great trick for passing when you don't want to do the work yourself. Or C, intentionally using false data to make your lab report seem more legit. A, yes. Thank you for answering correctly. It is the intentional use of another person's ideas. Last but not least, cheating includes A, copying another student's work, B, proofreading an essay for a friend, or C, discussing ideas for a project. A, yes, copying another student's work, so don't do it. Just kidding, last one. A paraphrase must always contain a citation, true or false? True, I heard it. Yes, when you paraphrase, you always want to make sure you're giving credit where credit is due. Okay, so what are ways to avoid academic dishonesty? Don't procrastinate. How many of y'all in high school procrastinated? Raise your hand. It's okay. It's like a support group. Yes, I, to this day, am a very big procrastinator. A lot of the cases that I see, students who engage in academic dishonesty is a result that they procrastinated or they wait until the last minute to do something. So make sure you're being prepared. Please be thorough and don't be lazy. Make sure you're citing your sources. Make sure you're keeping track of all the documents that you're receiving or you're reviewing. And make sure you're giving credit where credit is due. Study, study, study. I think we can all agree on that. But more importantly, ask questions. Ask your faculty member questions. If you don't know, if you think you might be engaging in academic dishonesty, there's no harm in actually asking. And then lastly, just communicate if you have any issues or challenges. Faculty members are really understanding. So if you are having any issues, make sure you're communicating them to your faculty member, because more likely than not, they'll be accommodating and give you an exception or extension of time. So the International Center for Academic Integrity defines academic integrity as a commitment to 5 fundamentals, so honesty, trust, fairness, respect, and responsibility. As UH Manoa students, we're going to hold you to the same values. We want to make sure when you're here on campus that you're providing reputable work, you're being honest with us and providing honest work. You're having respect for the things that you do and respect for the classes. But ultimately, you're taking responsibility for your studies and then also take responsibility if you do engage in academic dishonesty. So hopefully you never have to interact with myself ever in terms of academic dishonesty. But if you do, I would welcome the conversation to help you understand where you could have been or done something a little bit different. So this is my office's contact information. I'm located in the Queen Liliuokalani Center, room 207. We are in person in the office, so if you need to stop by, that's totally fine. If you want to email, you can go ahead and email me, or you can call. We are a 2-person office, so it's myself and my operations coordinator, but we're more than happy to answer any questions that you may have and help you if you need anything. I know I went over that super fast, but happy to answer any questions that you folks have. No? Okay, last question. Are y'all excited for school?
Yes.
Yes? What are you excited about?
I'm just excited to be here.
Where are you from?
LA.
Me too. So cool. Welcome. Anyone?